Welcome to the 30th episode of Honor Society, covering all things Ring of Honor here at the Turnbuckle Tavern, live from No Sale Studios. I'm the Ace of the Tavern, Acefield Retro, and as always, joined by the Kentucky Waterfall himself at Mullet.mania. Colton, what's up, dude?
What's going on, Ace? Man, fucking dirty 30. Hard to believe that we're 30 episodes in Honor Society, man. That's awesome. It's flown by.
Yeah, man. It feels like yesterday we were clamoring for the TV deal to be had, and now we're getting weekly TV from ROH, and I know we have our caveats and complaints for it, but by all intents and purposes, this has been a fun ride that you and I have been on, and it's only getting better.
Yeah, man. It's I really only heard Riccaboni and Caprice use this term, I think, one time, but it's always stuck out in my mind. I love it. It's this new era of Honor, and I'm a big fan of what we've had so far, man. Like I said, I mean, we're big fans. We do deep dives. We're always going to find little nitpicky stuff that maybe isn't our favorite. But like I said, a lot of these episodes, man, you got to go searching for something to critique, because it's been good stuff.
Yeah, and we appreciate the support, guys. And these shows have been doing really well. And you can't find the in-depth coverage of Ring of Honor anywhere else at just the Turnbuckle Tavern. Make sure you guys go to turnbuckletavern.com. We have more shows than just this one. So if you're popping in for just Ring of Honor, you're doing yourself an injustice. Go out and check out our AEW stuff, our WWE stuff, our nostalgia stuff. We even have a movie podcast, guys. So you have something for everybody here at the Turnbuckle Tavern. Make sure you guys just check us out. We are doing big things here, and this is just one part of the big piece of the wheel that we continue to move forward week after week.
Yeah, man. Tons of free content. theturnbuckletavern.com. Go check it out. Like, subscribe. We're everywhere you want to be. So come hang.
All right, Colton, let's get into the scoop quick so we can get right into the meat of this episode. All right, ROH news for the week, the scoop. We only have one story to cover, and it kind of intertwines with our week-to-week coverage of the show. But we want to just clarify a little bit about this, because we saw some murmurings about this with the tapings happening on Sunday in Orlando, Florida, and we heard some conversation about what it would look like. We saw it come to life on the screen. But according to PW Insider, these positions for Jerry, Lynn, and Stokely Hathaway were on-screen only. So when we go through this, if you guys missed it, of course, we will talk about how they were presented on screen, but they're going to be on-screen general manager, authority type figures, one heel, one face. I'll let you guys guess which one's heel, which one's face. But question people had was, maybe Tony Khan's going to be loosening the responsibility a bit and handing things off, but as Stone Cold Steve Austin would say, not happening.
Yeah, man, and that kind of surprised me. When I first heard this, I was like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Jerry Lynn, he's got such a great mind for the business and such an esteemed Ring of Honor alum. Like, it would totally make sense to put a little power in that guy's hand, because that he's doing stuff backstage. He's got to be. And, Stokely, also another great mind for the business. Like you said, real easy to figure out who's the heel and who's the baby face here. But I've assumed that was where we were going, was Tony TK loosening the grip on the reins a little bit, but doesn't seem like it. Looks like it's all for show.
So all Tony Khan's responsibilities, including with AEW and Fulham and the Jacksonville Jaguars and everything going on with that, he's still going to be handling all the tapings backstage for Ring of Honor and the bookings for the whole brand and all the creative. And so we'll see what happens as he trusts more people around him and his creative circle continues. And we hear about Bryan Danielson getting added to the trust circle here, and Chris Jericho and all those people that he's trusting on the AEW side. Maybe he'll relinquish some of the reins here, as you said before, on the ROH side with some of the guys that have been there. Jerry Lynn being one of them, Stokely Hathaway obviously being a charismatic piece here. I can imagine that eventually it's got to be tough for Tony Khan to handle all of this. And it's also got to be equally as tough to let it go. So I know it's one of those difficult balancing acts of how much can I actually handle in a 24-hour day?
Yeah, man. Obviously the guy's he's got a lot on his plate, and he seems to be pretty good at handling it. But that, you can only go so far before you do need a little bit of a break. So, I mean, like you mentioned, you've got Danielson, you've got Jericho, you've got Moxley on the AEW side. He's got Jerry Lynn, he's got Christopher Daniels, he's got all these guys that have been around a while that are good minds and are good hands to have either brand be in. So I'm hoping that he does at some point accept a little bit of help.
Yeah, but so just want to mention, guys, as we talk about this, it's on screen only. So Stokely and Jerry Lynn are going to be on screen characters, which is the first time we're seeing that across any Tony Khan booked promotion. So AEW has never had an on screen character. We've seen it on WWE as a trope that gets used over and over again. We've seen the Teddy Longs, the Stephanie McMahons, the Paul Heymans, the Kurt Angles, the GM. We got whatever his name is, Brandon Pierce, I think, on the Adam Pierce, I should say, on the WWE side. So we've seen this. And I think maybe ROH is using this as a test tube to figure out, can we have an authority figure on AEW? And that's obviously a booking strategy to use to figure out who's responsible for making matches. And Tony Khan was kind of on screen as a character tonight. He wasn't completely a character, but this is the most we've seen on him since probably the pandemic era of AEW in Jacksonville. So he was on the screen. He was, I guess, quote unquote, a character tonight, but I don't think he's ready to handle that leadership role as an on-screen leadership authority type of character.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Man, I think it's an interesting layer to add this idea of like on-screen GM type characters between Jerry Lynn and Stokely Hathaway, because it does kind of open up an opportunity to do some more just kind of guaranteed storytelling and development on Ring of Honor from week to week. You got a heel manager, you got a face manager, and because we pack 12 matches into a show every week at least, sometimes more, sometimes 10 more than that almost. But it's usually we're getting 2, maybe 3 slowly developed storylines at once. So maybe this will add a little bit to the storytelling on our HTV, which I think would be a good thing.
And AEW benefits from they use Tony Khan's name on screen. When the announcer can say, Tony Khan just approved this match, it's happening. But I think having 2 guys, a heel and a face, it's going to be an interesting dynamic. And I'm not saying I want this to float over AEW, but I think it fits perfectly in ROH, because the thing we've been asking for is direction. We want things to mean something. And I think in the ecosystem of ROH, having intention from all of these guys about how to help these guys put them in matches, at least make it make sense with just backstage segments, I think it can only help, not hurt.
Yeah, 100% agree.
So let's get into the ROH TV results here as I pull them up on the screen. These were taped in Orlando, Florida. We talked about that giant 19 match episode we did. So it seems like it was wiping the board clean, getting ready for now. As we know, Death Before Dishonor, that's going to be happening in Trenton, New Jersey in the middle of July. We have Ian Riccaboni, Nigel McGuinness, and Caprice Coleman on commentary. And Colton, we open up with Kyle Fletcher taking on Christopher Daniels. I'll let you handle the load here. Kyle Fletcher, obviously, without his partner. Chris Daniels has been in tag action for the most part. But these guys went out there and had a really good match for an opening of the ROH card.
Yeah, they really did, man. This match was a solid open. It felt, AEW's been killing it week to week with, seems like Orange Cassidy defending the belt every week. And this kind of gave me the same feel as far as quality of match, man. And it's unfortunate that, Mark Davis is out with getting, surgery, but it's exciting and it's fun to see Kyle Fletcher in more singles opportunities. Same thing for Christopher Daniels here, man. He's been in mostly tag action with Matt Sydal. I absolutely love Christopher Daniels in singles action. He started off the match with a drop toe hold that was just textbook. I mean, Daniels was really in the driver's seat for the first half of this match and a little bit more. I thought that this was Christopher Daniels' best showing since he's returned to the ring and Ring of Honor. I thought he looked really, really in control. Really good storytelling, kind of, the old veteran versus the young, and of course, Kyle Fletcher's a veteran in his own right. I mean, he started training when he was super, super young. He's already got 9 years under his belt. But it was a really good tale of kind of the sensei versus the grasshopper in a way for me. Fletcher, they mentioned, had hurt his neck recently in a New Japan Strong match. He did a great job of selling that tonight. Like I said, Chris Daniels is in control for a good first half of the match. Kyle Fletcher hit Christopher Daniels with a suplex, and he gets a hold of control of the match for a little bit. I tell you what, man, I caught a couple times where Christopher Daniels seems like he's selling that he's like trying to sell that he's blown up a little bit. like exaggerating his gasp for air, and I'm not buying that shit for a second, dude. I think he's trying to sell a story here of like, oh, I'm not as young as I once be, and I'm going against these young studs out here. But Christopher Daniels is in incredible fucking shape. I don't think he's blown up at all, man. He seems so cool, calm, and collected and in control anytime he's in the match. I thought it was, incredible match, man. Fletcher hits him with a hammerlock pile driver for the win. Great finish. I saw it going both ways multiple times. This was a really, really great way to start the show. I can't think of a better opening match in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, I agree with that. And what I did like is him finishing him off with the spinning tombstone, because we saw Orange Cassidy kick out of, I believe, 3 of them, even the one off the top rope. So I like to see that finish having a little bit more emphasis on it. And back and forth. As you mentioned, this wasn't a squash match. Kyle Fletcher had to take a lot of a beating here. Chris Daniels was the savvy veteran, and they both played their roles really well. Now, this has me thinking about the old school ROH mentality. Usually 3 wins, you're on a streak here, and that usually entails a title shot in some capacity, whatever division you're challenging in, whether it be a world title or a TV title. Kyle Fletcher should be in line for some title shot at this point, and I'm not sure exactly where it would be. I'd imagine he'd be next up for Samoa Joe. I can't imagine that he'd be ready for Claudio, but interesting to talk about, because Kyle Fletcher's sort of on a roll here. And you would think, as we watch guys like, Top Flight, where you lose your tag partner and you have to struggle and figure out where you're going. It seems like, while Mark Davis is on the shelf, Kyle Fletcher uses it as an opportunity to show people that he's more than just one half of a tag team, one of the best tag teams in the world, but he's still showing he can be one of the top single stars in any company. He goes out there and shows out every single time he's on our screen.
Dude, he's an incredible talent. And like you mentioned, doesn't really make sense that he's ready for Claudio here. I mean, I think he's definitely needs a shot at a title, or at least a proving ground match. And, maybe he gets a proving ground match against Claudio, and that serves him his first loss in Ring of Honor as a singles. I think that would be a good logical way. But yeah, man, massive Kyle Fletcher fan. Really enjoy what he's doing as a singles here. I will say, man, he's lucky he's such a good wrestler, because he's got one of the worst fucking haircuts in the business.
It is, it's the Sean Hunter of Boy Meets World haircut. And you know what though? Like, it's almost the same hair as Will Ospreay, but Ospreay pushes it back. And like halfway through the match, and Fletcher is like, obviously everywhere, the hair's not staying parted. But if he would just push it all the way back, it would be miles better for his look. But just critiquing here.
Yeah, most definitely.
And we have the ability to critique hair. I mean, look at the Kentucky waterfall on Colton right now.
Hey, you're not too bad yourself there, Ace. I mean, we've got some authority on hair around here.
We do, for sure. And as we move into the next match, it's Christopher Daniels' partner that's usually out there with the Matt Sydal, taking on the reality Zach Clayton. And Cole Carter is in his corner, the tavern favorite Cole Carter from the Two Bad Chads neck of the woods. This match was quick. It was 3 minutes and 4 seconds. It was the usual shenanigans from Carter and Clayton, playing the heel, and Carter was distracting at ringside. But we had Matt Sydal getting the win here. Meteora got the pinfall. And after the match, the main intention of this match was Matt Sydal making his intentions clear. He wants Samoa Joe in a match. Seems like we're going to get separate ways of Sydal and Chris Daniels. That was evident from match 1 and match 2. And this is a little mini feud for Samoa Joe as we get him cooked up for something bigger. But I kind of like it. Matt Sydal can go with the best of them. If you guys are not familiar with Matt Sydal in this capacity, you can remember him as Evan Bourne back in WWE. Has a lot of experience, a veteran presence here on ROH. Love that he's being utilized in this capacity, and probably going to put on an awesome match with Samoa Joe. So good showcase for Sydal. Like to see him getting a win here.
Yeah, man, me too. Guaranteed to put on a great show with Joe. And I mean, it's kind of hard to believe that Sydal's never gotten a shot at the Ring of Honor TV title, and I'm excited that he's finally going to get a shot with it, because he deserves it. And it'll be a good match.
Next up here, we had our good friend Willie Mack taking on Dralistico with Jose the Assistant. Dralistico's been a busy dude across AEW television, ROH. He's being featured in a lot of ways. I think he was on Rampage as well. But I'll let you take the lead here. Willie Mack also, I think 4 weeks in a row, we got him on our screen on ROH. Some good stuff here. Match goes a little bit longer than most of them, and we had some offensive flurry from both of them.
Yeah, man, I didn't think this was going to be an almost 8-minute match. But yeah, like you said, Dralistico, been a super busy guy up and all over our TVs lately. Start off, Willie offered Dralistico a handshake to start. Dralistico only offered one finger in response. You can guess which one it was. Dralistico hits a tope con hilo out of the ring, and a senton in the ring for a near fall. Matt comes running back with a shining wizard, hits a tope con hilo on Dralistico, and Jose on the floor. So Jose, the assistant, grabbed Mac's foot to keep him from getting back in the ring. classic heel shit from Jose there. Jose grabs. Oh, sorry, I'm all sorts of lost, man. Jalisco tied up Mac in the rope, came off of the top with a kick for a near fall. Mac and Jalisco exchanged strikes in the ropes and in the center of the ring. Mac finally getting the edge with the spinning leg strikes and kicks in the center of the ring. Mac catches Jalisco with a pop-up fall-away slam, pops him up for a standing moonsault for a near fall, and never get sick of seeing that standing moonsault from Willie. It's incredibly impressive given his size. Mac comes off the top rope with a splash, but Jalisco got his knees up at the last minute. Good showing from both guys. Jose gets on the apron to distract Mac, the referee, and allowing Jalisco to hit a low blow and then an incinerator knee for the pinfall. This was a good match, good showing for both guys, but I hated this finish. And the whole point of this match was to get the crowd to really, really, hate Jalisco as a real chicken shit heel. Goal achieved.
Yeah, I agree with you with the finish part. First of all, I didn't like Willie Mack not going over here. That was my main, as a fan here, I wanted Willie Mack, and I guess that's the point of the match where Jalisco's playing this, as you mentioned, chicken shit heel, but doing his job. I'm rooting for Willie Mack here. I thought Willie Mack got another good showing in with some good offense. We saw some of his signature moves here, showing what he can do. But personally, I would have went with a better finish. I think it was a little convoluted. You didn't have to do everything you did at the end. If you want Jalisco to go over, have him go over. Don't convolute it enough with the referee distraction and the low blow and all of that. Just go all in and have Jalisco win. It's not a bad thing for Willie to lose. Personally, as a fan, I probably would book it the other way. But if you have, as you mentioned, the goal of this match was to get Jalisco over to get heat. Fans were reacting the way you wanted them to, and people are getting behind Willie Mack. Wonder if Ninja Mac wasn't available for these tapings, but we're seeing a couple of the first three matches a trend here, Colton. They're taking some of these tag teams and splitting them up. Even Jalisco we're used to seeing in a tag team format. So
yeah,
some guys getting their chops in singles action.
Yeah, at least used to seeing him with, if Roosh isn't around, at least getting him with Preston Vance. So yeah, it's interesting seeing him on his own. Definitely if they're going to keep, LFI kind of together as a group, really setting up Jalisco as just the weakest link and the biggest heel of the group, because even though Roosh is a heel, he's super over with the crowd, and Preston Vance can go. He doesn't need to cheat to win a match. He doesn't need to hit a low blow. So yeah, definitely solidifying Jalisco as a real heel.
So if you guys didn't see this match, one of the good spots here, Willie Mack with a pop-up fall-away slam. And how athletic is Willie Mack? The ability to do things at his size, and he's unassumingly athletic. And we say this every week, and just the moveset he has is it's creator wrestler. He's absolutely unbelievable. Even in a losing effort, to me, he shined brighter than Jalisco, and that's just my opinion. But Willie Mack, to me, even when he's not wrestling, coming out to the ring or cutting a promo, his facial expressions, everything about him screams star. And I think it's only a matter of time before, as cliche as it sounds, the cream rises to the top. I think eventually he's going to find a way in a meaningful program somewhere. If it's not ROH or AEW, he's going to find his place somewhere, and the promotion is going to be better for it.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And I hope he finds, wherever that may be, a spot at the top, because he deserves it.
So we have an announcement, a rare ROH announcement from Tony Khan here. He came out to announce Matt Sydal versus Samoa Joe for the ROH TV title. Seeing Tony Khan on our TV is sort of surreal. If you've been to a live event and we've seen Tony Khan come out, he gets excited. But if he's on TV, it's typically behind in a tape capacity with, he's not blinking, as everyone likes to make a joke about, but he's usually just in a tape setting behind with the AEW backdrop, having him come out on stage. That's usually reserved for those live events. But him bringing out, first of all, announcing the match is a big deal, but then passing the torch, I thought was important too, for this broader directors to have some momentum behind them in matchmaking. And, I think he had alluded to the fact about the backstage work and wanting some help with keeping things organized with the ROH stuff. And maybe that eventually becomes more of a shoot than a work. But for right now, as we talk about in the news, it's part of just the storyline here. But introducing Stokely Hathaway and then Jerry Lynn. The one thing I did like about Stokely here, Colton, was that Stokely's not going to be outright heel. He's just trying to be this disingenuous type of dishonest heel where everybody sees through the act, but he believes he's fooling people to be a nice guy. And I did like that because it could be easy. It's low hanging fruit to have Stokely go out there and be the same heel we've seen on screen, whether it be when he was with MJF all the way back in the day, or whether he's, with the firm or whatever he does on AEW television. He could just play that character. But this felt a little different to me because they both were coming in trying to be professional. But I think everyone was obviously they're leery of what Stokely's going to bring to the table. And Jerry Lynn, he just commands respect, not only from ROH, but from wrestling fans at large.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be a really interesting duo between the two of these guys. And I kind of got, when Tony was out there, first of all, I know a lot of people like to give Tony shit about not blinking. Go back and watch. I caught a blink on camera tonight with him being out there live. So they were switching off to a shot of the crowd shortly before he brought Jerry and Stokely out. But yeah, he did actually blink tonight. It's almost like you got Tony Khan, and then he's got, the little devil on his shoulder in Stokely and the angel in Jerry. So yeah, it's going to be, I'm interested to see where it goes. It's not I would never have called this being an announcement that we were getting, before hearing about it in the news this week, but yeah, I'm excited to see it.
Yeah, it makes sense. And again, if this is going to be used as a breeding ground for ideas, then this is something you want to float out there before bringing it to AEW and test it out here. Because I think eventually you're going to have to find a way to make matchmaking make sense on screen. Eventually, everybody finds a way to do it, whether you go with WWF back in the day with Jack Tunney, or you have Vince McMahon became an on-screen character. And we talked about it at length, and I think all podcasts have talked about Tony Khan's, limitations as far as being in front of a camera. Maybe that gets fixed. Maybe he's able to do it on screen, because I know the passion's there. He wants to be an on-screen character. I think he probably would very much like to be doing the job that Stokely and Jerry Lynn are doing. But I think he's recognizing that having the bandwidth of being a character on screen and also doing the stuff behind the scenes, Vince did that, but Vince also didn't have all this other stuff going on at the time. I know WWF is growing, but he's also involved, as we mentioned before, Fulham and the Jacksonville Jaguars, and you're doing creative for two companies. You kind of have to, you just can't become an on-screen character. That's its own thing as well. But I do like that Jerry Lynn was chosen. We've seen him involved in the Pure Championship, sitting as a judge. He's been involved in that stuff. So it's not like we haven't seen him in a while. Stokely, it's been a bit. The firm deletion match, I think, was about a month and a half ago at this point. So to see him float up here in RH was unexpected, as you mentioned, but kind of refreshing. Yeah,
definitely. Because, Stokely's not somebody that you want on your roster just sitting on a shelf not being used. You got to find a spot for him. He's way too talented.
And I also want to say, too, you could just tell Tony Khan, the passion is so evident every time he's on our screen, and he wants to get everything over. And people give him shit for making announcements and being excited for the product. I think it's a plus to be out there in front of us about being excited what you do. This dude loves his job. He loves what he does. And even though he wants, his idea of making announcements might be an overkill thing for people, it's just his excitement and exuberance for being there. If you've ever been to a live AEW event and he comes out and he's just like, let's get ready for it. The guy loves what he's doing. So, I don't know. The jokes don't land for me because I just think he, at the end of the day, just loves pro wrestling. And sometimes it shows itself in different ways.
People are always going to make jokes, man. And yeah, I'm with you. They don't really land for me. I get it. Sometimes he comes off as a little bit awkward, and that's fine. But for me, it's very similar. It's very endearing for me. And yeah, if you haven't been to a live AEW event, go, because it'll be one of your favorite parts of the show. Is when he comes out there off camera and interacts with the crowd and thanks everybody for being there. Thanks to all the fans for being a fan of what they do. And yeah, it's super genuine, and I love it.
So for this segment, and of course we're going to get the other segment involving TK here. This is as close as we've gotten to an on-screen character for Tony Khan. So I asked you, Colton, I know people have said, no way, not ever. Do you see him being an on-screen character at some point? Do you see him taking a bump? Like, obviously Stone Cold, that first stunner to Vince McMahon was a huge deal. Do you see a GTS to Tony Khan in the future? Do you think that's something that, I'm not asking if it's going to go well. I'm asking if that is something you feel. He's the boss at the end of the day. If he wants to be a character on screen and wants to practice and get it right, maybe that's something that is in his future.
Yeah, man, that's interesting, because I've never really thought about it in that sense. Like I think he will eventually spend some time being an on-screen character. My first inclination is that it won't be consistent. Like, we'll see him kind of come in and come out of doing it. It's not going to be like Vince was in the late 90s, early 2000s, where he's on multiple segments of TV every week being the main bad guy, or I don't foresee TK having that big of a presence on screen ever. But interesting that you bring up him maybe catching a GTS, especially with Punk coming back. I mean, especially if it sounds like we're a little too afraid to touch Punk versus the Elite. I would love to see a heel Punk putting one on Tony, man. I think that would be great. I would. I mean, guy's young enough. He seems pretty healthy. I'm sure he could take a bump if he prepared. So yeah, I would watch that. I'd be all about that.
Yeah, I mean, Vince at one point wasn't bumping. He just decided to do it. And then all of a sudden he's active in the ring and he put on some very entertaining matches. I mean, some of the most entertaining matches in WrestleMania history. Even like I go back, think about WrestleMania 19 against Hogan, like a very fond memory. It just was great. But I don't know if we're there yet with Tony Khan. And I know Vince McMahon and Tony Khan are two different people from the word go. Vince McMahon was a showman. You know what I mean? Like we've seen him on screen well before this, and he had the chops for it. So I'm not saying Tony Khan not ever, but I don't know. This was like, to me, I thought there was more to this because he was more involved in the on-screen programming than we've ever seen, ever, because of his fact, like he was involved in sort of the matchmaking on screen. Like this felt more than just an announcement with, holding the microphone. This felt a little bit more immersed in the programming.
Yeah, and I think the next couple of weeks will be really telling with how much we're going to see of him as an on-screen character on ROH because, maybe next week we don't get any Tony at all and we just get Stokely and Jerry Lynn. But I think I'd like to see a little bit more with the three of them involved. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
So our next match here, we have Willow Nightingale defending her New Japan Strong Women's Championship, taking on Rachel Ellering. Yes, that's right, the daughter of Paul Ellering, the famous manager here in professional wrestling. So Rachel, this is the first time we're seeing her in ROH, this new ROH, of course, but she last appeared in Ring of Honor in October 2016. So she has some history here in the promotion. This was obviously the Willow Nightingale show. She just won the New Japan Strong Women's Championship not too long ago over Mercedes Moné. And this put her over here. And I thought they did a great job of showing Willow. And Willow's just, I mean, we talk about this every week, her charisma and just her presence. You can't teach presence. Certain professional wrestlers have that. And just from the first notes of her entrance theme with her contagious smile coming out to the ring, absolutely full. She's the full package for me. And
yeah, man.
Happy accident of, not happy that Mercedes got hurt, but that Willow has this opportunity as a New Japan Strong Women's Champion because this title was made for Mercedes Moné, and Willow maybe down the line would have gotten an opportunity at, but the fact that she jumped the line, had to make a on the move decision with Mercedes hurting her leg, her ankle, her foot, whatever it wound up being, and missing significant time. Willow happened to be the beneficiary of that, and I think she's running with it. And this is just, she looks right with a championship belt, and I think there's more gold in her future, more so than just the New Japan Strong Women's Championship.
Completely agree, man. Like you said, not necessarily a happy accident with Mercedes getting hurt, but I mean, who better to, when you have to call an audible like that and make somebody an inaugural champion? I mean, gosh, Willow's perfect for that, man. And, I thought this match was good. It was quick. I thought that Rachel had, a good showing. As far as I thought this was the closest matched in power that we've seen Willow on ROH TV. So I hope we get to see some more out of Rachel Ellering. I thought she had a good show. I mean, when she kicked out of that Fisherwoman suplex bridge pin, man, I mean, that took a lot of power. Anybody else that Willow's gone up against in the last 5 or 6 weeks on Ring of Honor TV, I don't think could have kicked out of that. So, Nightingale caught Ellering with the spine buster and then locked in a camel clutch for the win. I know this had to have been taped weeks prior, right?
Or no, this was taped the 4th of June, but it was before Iron Sheik passed away.
Iron Sheik passed away, but it's still, man, it's just like how serendipitous and how fucking cool that was to see her get that win. It felt like a nod to Iron Sheik. And because of the dates that it was taped, I know that it could not have been intentionally, which almost makes it even cooler to me. Yeah, man, of course, our rest in peace, Iron Sheik, one of the greatest of all time, to just the greatest to ever do it. And also to continue to grow and expand his presence via the Twitter universe to people who've never even watched wrestling know who the Iron Sheik is just for his Twitter presence, man. And yeah, just, great career, great life. Sad to see him go.
Yeah, so that is interesting you thought about that. And that's immediately what I thought about too when Willow locked it in. And she's been really putting over those double power bombs. So seeing her win with a submission, maybe it's to make her look a little bit more dangerous and more versatile. But it was very appropriate to win with the camel clutch here, even though it could not have been in tribute to Iron Sheik. But he'll forever be tied to the camel clutch with his famous submission move. So rest in power, Bubba. Rest in power, Iron Sheik. Terrible news yesterday, but his legacy will live on as one of the greatest wrestling champions of all time, and one of the more funny personalities too. Post being in the ring, the guy a lot of times became a little bit more famous for a generation that never saw him compete, just with his antics online and in interviews. Those Howard Stern interviews are insane.
Yeah, which is wild, man. Like, what other professional wrestler can say that? No, nobody.
So we have a ROH Proving Ground match here for the ROH World Six-Man Championship belts. Of course, Brian Cage and the Gates of Agony involved in this. They are taking on Cheeseburger, Eli Isom, and Marcus Cross. Brian Cage, absolute monster. The Proving Ground match for you guys to be aware of. Again, if the challengers get a time limit, which is 10 minutes of a draw, or they get the pinfall, they will get a title match sometime down the line. Was not to be for the team of Cheeseburger, Eli Isom, and Marcus Cross. Glorified squash match here. Bishop Khan and Tongaloa and Cage went in there and destroyed. They did what they did. But let's use this opportunity while Brian Cage is in our psyche to talk about, did you see what he posted about being a part of a wedding ceremony where he powerbombed someone involved in a wedding through a table? Someone hired him for a wedding. It was awesome.
I did not see that. That sounds fucking excellent. Wait, so it was like somebody who was getting married, he powerbombed through a table? Or
I don't know if it was the groom or somebody else, but someone in a suit got Brian Cage showed up to the wedding in tights, like in his full gear, and powerbombed the dude through a table. So I'll send you the video later. You guys look it up. I'm sure you can find it. Someone hired Brian Cage, like, I guess, book Brian Cage at gmail.com, whatever the fuck it is. And they're like, hey, do you want to do this wedding? And he did it. So, the dude in a wedding venue with everyone all wearing their best with the dresses and the suits. And he shows up all jacked out of his mind with the tights. It's the most pro wrestling thing I've seen in quite some time. And I loved it. Anyway, Embassy and Brian Cage got the win here. So no match in the future for Cheeseburger, Eli Isom, and Marcus Cross. No, nor did they deserve it anyway. No one, you can't touch these World Six-Man champs right now.
No, man. But, I think this was not the only six-man match we saw tonight, which, True. I know you and I have gone back and forth a few times. Be like, what are we doing? Are we keeping the six-man titles? We got to merge them. We dissolving them. It seems like they're building the six-man division back up here in ROH, man. And like I said, I'm all for it. I don't see it coming off the Embassy anytime soon.
So we have another match here. It's another women's division match. Vert Vixen getting a chance at the former ROH Women's Champion, Mercedes Martinez. And Vert Vixen, I'll let you take the lead here. But Vert Vixen, we've seen her on our screen a few times. She's been all over the place. She's been a busy professional wrestler as well, but really no match for Mercedes Martinez here.
No, man. This was the longest match I think that Mercedes Martinez has been in since she's been back. Still under 4.5 minutes though, man. A quick one for sure. Vert Vixen got a drop kick in early, but Martinez kipped up and floored her with the clothesline. She got her with a big boot, took her off her feet early on. Vert Vixen had a little bit of offense for a while, but Martinez came into the corner with a charging forearm, hit an anarchist suplex for a near fall. Mercedes hits Vert Vixen with a forearm in the back of the head and then locks in that inverted surfboard, or as she's calling the Brass City Sleeper. I love that finish, man. She's won every match since she's been back with that exact maneuver, and boy, it doesn't take long to get somebody tapping with that.
So Mercedes Martinez is still in the picture for Athena's championship, and she's always going to be someone that's a threat to it. So maybe we'll see that match down the line. Of course, they're trying to rehabilitate Mercedes post-injury to get her back to the status she was. But maybe we see that matchup. But the next match we have here is returning Griff Garrison, back from an injury for the first time since October 2022. So he's been gone a while. He required surgery at some point, but he was trying his hand at singles. He's another half of a tag team guy. Former tag teams with Brian Pillman Jr. They haven't been a team for quite some time because of the injury. And Brian Pillman Jr. is an example of what happens. Gives a little bit more credit to what Kyle Fletcher's doing, because Brian Pillman Jr. has done pretty much nothing on the AW side of things since Garrison's been hurt. Taking on Lee Moriarty. And Lee Moriarty is another guy we've seen in bits and pieces. We know that they're very high on him. And, some of the talent is as well. CM Punk wanted to work with him early on his tenure in his first run there. Lee Moriarty is one of those guys that very Japanese influence. He's wearing the tiger mask out to the ring. Were you surprised to see Griff Garrison get absolutely squashed here by Moriarty, or were you expecting it? I didn't expect Lee Moriarty to lose, but I was expecting Griff to get a little more in on his first match back.
And I don't know. I thought maybe it was the opposite for me, because I feel like he didn't totally get squashed, because I kind of expected it to be a total squash just because of the way they've been booking Lee here lately, And no, man, I thought for what Griff got in, he looked really good, and there was at one point in the match I thought Griff was going over here for a minute, man. Yeah,
for sure.
It was good to see. I've never seen anything from Griff Garrison in the singles. It's all been in tag for me. So yeah, I mean, even though it was a quick one, I thought that he looked good, man. And as I was watching this match, I was like, man, I think Griff Garrison could be somebody who could have a really promising singles like mid-card future in Ring of Honor. For his age, his size makes him, his size and his build make him pretty unique. I think that he's he's slow. He's got to be in the similar boat that Mercedes Martinez is kind of rehabilitating himself and getting himself back up to full speed, piece by piece here with that kind of injury and being out that long. So, and you could definitely tell he's lost some mass from, being out with the surgery. But yeah, I mean, for what he got in, it was more than I expected him to get in. So yeah, I'm excited to see him back, and I think it was cool to see the code of honor be honored at the or be observed at the end of this match. I'm excited to see more out of Griff Garrison. I hope they don't just try to slap him with somebody else and give him a little bit more of a shot as a singles.
Yeah, I guess my question to you would be, like, we've seen so many squash matches for how many weeks in a row we've done the show. Like, for Griff Garrison returning, do you think it would have been well suited to just have one of the local talent and go out there and take somebody on and get a win? Or do you think he's better suited for taking Lee Moriarty and in a losing effort? Do you think it's better to lose against Lee Moriarty than win against some no-name from Orlando?
Yeah, I do. I think it gives him especially in my eyes, like it gave him, because when I saw him going up against Moriarty, I was like, oh, I guess this is just going to be a total squash. And he got more in than I expected him to. And I think it gives him a little bit more credit coming off the shelf and only being somebody knows as a tag guy. And like, no offense here, Griff, but a lesser known tag guy and a lower level tag guy, that I think it gives him a little bit more credibility to be able to show that he can kind of hang and take a loss from somebody that like Lee Moriarty than it would be to just mow over some no name and like, oh, well, they're just pushing him because he's been on the shelf for so long. I think, he takes a respectable loss to Lee Moriarty, and then, maybe we see, maybe he takes one more loss from somebody else, but I think I want to see more of him. And I think the kid's got promise.
Lee Moriarty's great too. I know we didn't really touch upon him, but it's like I guess it's assumed every time we're on the screen here talking about him, he's just fantastic. So I love what he's doing, and he's come such a long way since that match he had with Punk. What was it, a year and a half ago at this point? So yeah, fantastic talent here that they have on their hands, and we're getting the benefit of watching here in ROH.
Yeah, and I think he definitely, Lee Moriarty gives Griff Garrison some rub just by being in the ring with him.
So another match here, Kiera Hogan, fresh off that women's championship shot, the little mini feud we had with Athena that was microwaved up and served on a plate for us, steaming hot. Was taking on Robin Renegade. This was, again, to put more shine back on Kiera Hogan after that loss to Athena. I love that she opened up the match, and it's just always funny to see someone named Hogan hitting a leg drop. It just was funny. I mean, her hitting the leg drop for a 2 count. But this was pretty good. As far as a short match goes, we've seen Robin Renegade before. Of course, Kiera Hogan got the win here. But we saw the shenanigans, of course, with Charlotte. All the stuff that goes into whenever we see the Renegade girls together. But Kiera Hogan went over here. What were your thoughts on this match? And do you think they did enough job to make sure Kiera Hogan feels like she's still on the same level as Athena? Because, like I said before, using the symbolism of being microwaved, she really was raised to that level and then quickly thrown back down pretty quickly.
Yeah, within 1 week, man. And like it kind of reminded me, I didn't realize until they brought her out to face Robin Renegade tonight. Like she's 1-1. This is her third match in Ring of Honor this year. It was one match, the match against Athena, and then this match tonight. So I thought it was good because it did show her going up against Robin, shows her kind of dropping back down on the card. And Robin got she got a lot of offense in early and kind of made Kiera Hogan look like she kind of had to fight from below to come back and get this win, kind of underdog style it a little bit, which was cool. I thought told a good story. And then, after the match, I thought it was pretty predictable, but like I say, a lot of times predictability in wrestling is a good thing. It was here. Athena ran in and attacked Hogan with a kendo stick, but not as predictable as I thought. Totally backfired. Hogan smacked the kendo stick into Athena's head off the ropes and then took it from her and just beat the holy hell out of Athena, man. So I don't know if this is I don't know if I'd go as far as to say it's going to be a major feud, but it's not necessarily going to be a mini because it looks like it just got heated back up again tonight, which I think's great. It's nice to give Athena, even though Kiera Hogan might not be the biggest name, to give her some sort of story that lasts more than just 1 or 2 weeks, I think is a good thing.
Yeah, and we'll see if this lasts till Death Before Dishonor, about a month and change away from now, and maybe they have this feud in mind, and Athena, who knows the opponent taking her on, and on the last pay-per-view was someone not in-house, so maybe they go the same route for Death Before Dishonor on that end as well. We'll see what happens, but for right now, it feels important that, I like what they did after the segment, but for me, the match didn't do enough for me to make sure Kiera Hogan feels as strong, because what they did in that first week, when they were cooking her up and, she was littered all over the segments with Athena. They really emphasized, man, she could take the title from Athena. And I know they did that after the match, but during the match, I didn't feel that way. And that sucked because I thought they did a really good job in that short amount of time. But, I think after the match, they made it clear that Athena was bested yet again. And Kiera Hogan right now feels like she's the only one that has done that. So the job well done after the match. But if you take that part out, I don't know if she feels the same just wrestling Robin Renegade and getting a win.
No, I completely agree. Without that second segment, she would not have been anywhere close to being back in the picture with Athena for me. What happened after the match completely made it, and without it, she would have just been getting a win, at the bottom of the totem pole and move it on just to the next rung.
So we have another 6-man match, as you mentioned before. The division feels a little bit more full than usual, Colton. We had Shane Taylor, JD Drake, and Anthony Henry taking on familiar faces, the Evil Uno, John Silver, and Alex Reynolds of the Dark Order. Let you run us through this match a little bit. Some fun action, man. The Dark Order getting some love here on ROH because they're involved in this mini feud right now with the Righteous, but we're getting a lot of love here for Dark Order, they've been ignored on AEW television. It's nice to see them shine a light on them here.
Yeah, man. They've had the whole story with the Righteous, and from what it looks like now, for better for worse, losing Stu Grayson to the hands of the Righteous. So, you kind of hate to see them get kicked while they're down here. We're hoping that they would, have a good showing tonight, and they did, man. Like you said, this was some really good action here. Old Johnny Hungy getting them kicks in on old Shane Taylor early on, kind of gets Shane kicked over into the corner until Shane kind of overpowers him. John Silver tags Alex Reynolds in. He's going at it with Shane Taylor, gets on the ropes. Anthony Henry gets a sneaky sweep of the legs from outside on Alex Reynolds. Shane Taylor and the Workhorsemen proceed to do a great job of cutting that ring in half at that point, man. It was, and there's a real size difference between these two teams, man. Anthony Henry's, no twig boy, but he's pretty small compared to JD Drake and Shane Taylor. And, there's a big size differential, big style differential between these two teams. But yeah, the Alex Reynolds gets stuck in there kind of no man's land for quite a while, man. He finally gets a hot tag in to Evil Uno. The whole match, I was thinking, man, I can't wait to see Evil Uno and Shane Taylor square off. Two really, really tough dudes with, interesting and unique builds for this business. And man, Uno and Shane square off, kind of chopping at each other. This was a cool match, a fun match. And, you'd think maybe after, you're going to kick Dark Order while they're down, they lose Stu Grayson, and you think maybe they're going to lose it here. No, man, this was a really cool finish, man. Dark Order gave Henry a triple windmill slam. Reynolds and Silver hit the rapid fire sinister on Drake to get the pinfall. Really fun finish, man. And nice to see Dark Order get a win here for once, because they've really been having a rough go with it with Stu's exit. So, and like I said, continuing to build the 6-man division. And these guys showed that even without Stu Grayson, they're a powerful 3-man team.
Yeah, and they're feeling on every promotion too. Like if you've been watching BTE, and they've been not really featuring it on AEW television, but the loss of Hangman too, with Hangman back with the Elite, they're taking it all over with Stu Grayson losing, them losing Stu Grayson and then losing Hangman from their fold. But after the match, we get some more salt in the wound here. The Righteous with the new member, Stu Grayson. They were interviewed by Dasha. They made sure to let them know they were not impressed with what the Dark Order did. So setting the stage for potentially the Righteous versus the Dark Order on ROH television, maybe next week. Maybe they hold it off for the pay-per-view, but it certainly seemed like they were teasing it for next week.
Yeah, they're teasing something, and it was kind of hard for me to tell. Like, are they teasing a match between them two, or because Vincent was like, "Oh, just watch, wait until you see next week." So, or is it going to be the Righteous and Stu versus another team, and they're wanting them to see what they're going to do? So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see where the payoff is there. But I never get sick of seeing the Righteous, man. Like I said, they're my favorite, and I think Stu running with them for now, I like it a lot.
So we also have another 6-man match here where they're just like, you know what, Colton and Ace were just ripping on our division. We need to make sure they're there. But I would still say these feel a little bit thrown together for the most part. But you know what? They're trying their hand about creating trios in ROH. AR Fox, Darius Martin, Action Andretti defeated Sonny Kiss, Slim J, and Jeeves K. We're so used to seeing Slim J and Jeeves K, VSK from Long Island. So if you guys are familiar with VSK, great wrestler. Great to see him in action. So this was a fun match here. Did not go much longer than many of the matches here. 6 minutes. Like I mentioned before, Air Fox, Darius Martin, Action Andretti got the win here. The question I had too would be eventually what happens with Dante when they come back. Do they figure out a way to make it all work and be copacetic? But they feel like not a thrown together team. On the other side, maybe Sonny Kiss being with them feels a little thrown together, and it is what it is, and they're fodder for the undercard. But having AR Fox and Darius Martin, Action Andretti, they feel like they could be like Demolition or the Freebirds, where you could just pop in one out, pop one out. So Darius Martin, AR Fox can team up, and Andretti and AR Fox, or vice versa. Any combination of the three would be great. They got the win. Andretti hit a double steam slam on Daivari to get the pinfall. Pretty good match as far as what it was given and what you expected to happen. I thought it was fun.
Yeah, I thought the same thing, man. They packed a lot of spots into 6 minutes. And, like you said, it's kind of a thrown together team, but it doesn't feel like it. And I think that comes from the benefit of AR Fox having teamed with Darius and Dante previously before. Right. And, obviously Action Andretti and Darius are just split together so well. It makes sense that AR would be able to fall right in there in a trios team, and it worked really well. But yeah, man, even commentary teams commenting on, what the hell is going to happen when Dante comes back? Is he going to find his spot in Top Flight? Again, is he going to get a singles push? Personally, I would like to see if we need another 3-man team, let's have Darius, Dante, and Action Andretti. I think AR Fox has got way more to offer as a single competitors out of any of those other guys. Yeah. But yeah, that's a dream. That's a wish list for me.
And that's a conversation we'll have down the line, hopefully sooner than later, when Dante gets back from that brutal ankle injury that he seems to be healing okay from. So we'll figure that out when the time comes. But for now, they're keeping them relevant, keeping Darius on the screen. And that's something, that couldn't have been said a couple months ago when vice versa, when they both weren't hurt. Like they were trying to figure out a way to keep them on the screen, but they're keeping them quite busy here. And Action Andretti too. I know that they had the heat on him with the JAS feud, beating Jericho on screen, and he easily could have fell to the wayside, but they're keeping him busy and getting reps in. And that's so valuable to have, where he's working in front of a live audience. And these tapings are important to get the reps underneath him and keep him fresh and keep him doing things that he's been doing on the up and up, because he's a talented dude.
Yeah, best thing you can do for these young guys, man, is continue to keep them working, get those repetitions in, and you really see it paying off for Darius too. Because for Darius being out for so long that he was, them being able to keep him on screen with Dante out, it's really, really good, and it's gonna pay dividends for his career in the future.
So next match here, we had Mike Bennett and Matt Taven, the Kingdom, taking on El Cobarde and El Dragon. These guys, we looked them up after this, and they're just guys that have been all over the place as far as Mexico wrestling. And also I believe El Cobarde was in MLW, but it's still new faces to us here in ROH. One noticeable thing in this match, if you did not see it, Mike Bennett got busted open pretty early in the match, which obviously was not supposed to happen. So we had to work through that for quite some time. Obviously, the Kingdom get the win here. Proton Pack. Some good action in between, but like we said before, similar situation with the glorified squash is they've been kind of mastering that on this weekly TV because it doesn't feel like the WWF superstar type of squash. They let the other talent get their stuff in, but it's an emphasis on Mike Bennett and Taven getting what they need to do, and that's look good.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I thought this, it was a good match, but it's kind of a weird spot on the card for it. And definitely didn't expect to see Mike Bennett with a Crimson Mask in a glorified squash match for sure.
So we have the announcement again. As I mentioned, we're going to have Tony Khan again on our screen, and it's the ROH Board of Directors having a major announcement because we just love our announcements here across all promotions. And Stokely was suggesting that Action Andretti versus the entire embassy should be happening next week. Jerry Lynn whispers to Tony Khan, obviously trying to get in his ear, literally, about what he thinks should happen. And he says they should have an ROH 6-man title match with the embassy against Andretti, AR Fox, and Darius Martin. And seems like that's what Tony Khan is leaning towards. And this is going to be the back and forth, and Stokely going to have to convince Tony Khan to do it. But this has me believing, this is what I was talking about before, that Tony Khan's going to have some role on our screen because they have to convince Tony Khan to make the decisions. It doesn't feel like Lynn and Hathaway are going to be granted the permission to make the matches quite yet, and that could change over time. But it'll be interesting to see. Tony's there anyway for the tapings, but this might be this step into an on-screen role, easing in, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, Ring of Honor's got to be a nice place for him to kind of warm up onto being an on-screen personality. And like I mentioned earlier, man, you got TK with the devil on one shoulder and the angel on the other. I think it's going to be an interesting dynamic, and I'm excited to see more out of Jerry Lynn on an on-screen role as a GM and not as a wrestler. I'm really excited to see that.
Yeah, and he carries a lot of weight too with everything he's accomplished throughout ECW. He had a run in WWF. Like he's been all over the place. Mr. JL in WCW, as we covered in 1996. But this dude's talented, and when you have a name like that, he just carries this weight and importance around him, and might as well use it. And I think also the mind for the business too, outside of just on-screen stuff. Like he's going to be able to. He's at the tapings weekly now, making sure that he's giving all his knowledge to Tony Khan in the immediate, reacting to things on the fly. But main event time here, Colton. Let's talk about Ray Phoenix against Gravity. Lead us through this match and let us know what you thought about it and what you thought about Gravity, our first time seeing him.
Man, yeah, this was cool. So, I wasn't 100% sure if Taven and Matt Taven and Mike Bennett versus the fellas from CMLL and MLW were going to be our main event. Seemed like an odd spot on the card. But yeah, they announced this. Tony announced Gravity coming in as Bandito's brother. This is my first time seeing this guy. Great look. Very cool gear. Almost like kind of Buzz Lightyear-esque color scheme going on. And came out in a spacesuit, which was pretty cool. And then, also like how Tony announced that his opponent was one half of the ROH current champion. He didn't say it was Penta or Phoenix. We had to wait till we see him come out. Obviously coming out with Alex Abrahantes. This was a fun match. It was set up kind of weird for sure. But I was impressed with what I saw from Gravity, man. The guy, I can tell that he's Bandito's brother just on his build and the broadness of the shoulders and his size, man. But the guy can move. He did some really cool kind of stalling in air with some moves, just kind of looking like he's getting a little hang time midair on some of these higher flying moves. But hard to believe that he was going over here, especially being set up the way he was set up. Ray Phoenix did pick up the win here. Kind of a weird setup, but yeah, I thought it was a cool main event, man. I enjoyed it. What'd you think?
Yeah, I liked it as well, and I thought it was an interesting spot on the card, but I'm trying to find another match that would have fit a better spot on the card. I think the main goal of this show was to put over the ROH Board of Directors as something that's going to be happening, and that's the story they're telling here. But I do enjoy the lucha flair on this card every single week, where there's enough lucha on here that's a little bit different than some of the cards we see on AEW. More so, we see it across different promotions, and of course, the influence you watch that Battle Royal to open up Double or Nothing was filled with a lot of lucha names, and it was emphasizing the fact there's a lot of great luchadors in AEW, but I always love that we see the lucha flair get emphasized here in a big way. Ray Phoenix feels like a big deal. He feels like a star, half of the ROH tag champs. and being featured here against a guy like Gravity. I know that he's Bandito's brother, but just the ability to say you've main evented in ROH, and I was impressed with him. And there's a high bar for the luchadors now, with obviously with Vikingo now is like the top of the line. Even Commander and Ray Phoenix and Penta are just so damn good. And Bandito, who's his brother, like you have a lot to live up to. But I thought he did a good job of making a first impression on us, at least, those that are watching the ROH programming from week to week. I thought he's someone that we're at least going to see on Rampage and AEW at some point, maybe even teaming with Bandito.
Excited. That would be very cool, man. And excited to see more of him. We've seen Bandito thrown together with the likes of Best Friends in the last couple of weeks, which has been cool. But yeah, so it'd be really cool to see Bandito in a tag team with his brother. Man, like you said, the amount of luchador talent that we have on this roster, we could almost do a lucha show every week too. So it's nice to be able to get at least one, maybe two matches with that style featured on ROH every week, and I hope it continues.
With that said, Colton, let's get to top honors, talk about our match of the week and what we thought was the best part of ROH TV for June 8th. All right, Colton, for top honors for this week of ROH TV, what was your match of the week or segment of the week, or what was your favorite walking away from the show?
Dude, match of the week for me might be a surprise to some folks, but it's going to be the opener for me this week, man, between Kyle Fletcher and Christopher Daniels. I thought it opened up the show with a bang. I thought it set the tone, and it was an incredible match. Great showing from both guys. And, I mean, although there was plenty of other great matches tonight, this one just got a hold of me early and stuck with me, man. I thought it was my favorite for sure.
I love that match, set the tone for the night. I felt like the first three matches really did that, even though the second match was a glorified squash with Zach Clayton and Matt Sydal. I have to go with the third match. I mean, Willie Mack and Jalisco came out there and tore it up. I know the ending wasn't our favorite. Even the finish itself wasn't our favorite, but I thought they did a good job. And having Willie Mack on our screen in singles capacity was awesome to see him showcase his moveset. And despite Jalisco getting a very convoluted finish, I thought they did a good job telling a story in between the ropes. And I really much enjoyed that match. But there's a lot of good action on this card. I mean, go down the list. There's always a complaint about the glorified squash matches. But I love when they're in front of Orlando. It feels like they're at home when they're taping here, and they're better for it. This was a show that felt like an ROH TV that we are used to, and that's all you can ask for. The crowd was very much into everything they were doing, and thought it was a good environment to enjoy what was 2 hours of good TV on a Thursday.
Same here, man. It was very refreshing, man. It was the first thing I had in my notes. As soon as the crowd came up on camera tonight, it was very refreshing to see that full audience again. In contrast to the Double or Nothing prior to Double or Nothing taping, where it was sparse at best. So yeah, glad to see him in Orlando. Excited to see what the next 3 or 4 weeks look like.
So let's get to honorable mention, where we talk about the match I assigned you last week, and I'll give you a new match to watch for this week. All right, for honorable mention, last week I assigned you Eddie Edwards versus Roderick Strong from Manhattan Mayhem 4 back from 2011. So what did you think of the match? What was your feedback? And what did you take away from it?
Man, I love this match. I'm a big Roddy Strong fan. Also like everything I've seen from Eddie Edwards. This was a good match, man. The crowd was super hot for Eddie Edwards coming out. Chance immediately, even though Roddy's coming out champion. I know Roderick's working a little bit more of a heel angle, it seems like here. Roderick Strong came to the ring with, it was Truth Martini, who is somebody that I'm not familiar with whatsoever. When I saw him, I thought he was a long-lost Jackson brother for a minute. Looked like he could have been the third Jackson brother, the third Buck. But interesting, Roddy gets a mic and said, "Hey, man, this is what we talked about. I don't need you out here tonight." Sends him to the back of the ring or backstage. This was a good match, man. It was a stiff match. Roderick Strong's known for his chops. So is Eddie Edwards, man. They got into multiple chop swaps in this match that were super stiff. Eddie hit a suicide dive onto Roderick Strong onto the barricade at one point that I thought had to have broken the bones in both of these guys. thing I liked most about this match, man, is it was kind of versus a lot of some of the matches that you recommend. This one was a real slow, methodical pace. There were not a whole lot of cover attempts in this match, which was for a title match was kind of unique, which I really enjoyed, man. Eddie Edwards hit a double stomp on Roddy's chest onto the apron that looked like it should have caved it in. And then getting deeper into the match, man, like I said, it was really tit for tat until the last like 3 or 4 minutes. It really seemed like it could have gone either way. At one point, Roddy Strong hawks a loogie in Edwards' face that like is the size of a fucking golf ball. Like you could see it so big. It was so nasty. And he followed it up with a hell of a super kick and a backbreaker, man, but it was not enough. And the thing that got me most about this match was the finish. It was a huge surprise finish, man. Eddie just kind of sat on him there and got a quick 1, 2, 3. It did not see it coming. Awesome for Eddie Edwards, you know. I mean, you know, one half of the American Wolves with Davey Richards. You know, I don't know if I ever would have picked him getting a singles run, let alone as a Ring of Honor World Champion. So yeah, really cool moment and very cool celebration for Eddie Edwards afterwards.
I'm glad you enjoyed the match. So for the match I assigned you here, and I always try to tie it with something going on relevant to TV and AEW, I guess, because of the rosters that are so unique. I wanted to pick a match that was very appropriate for Adam Cole, for people as we tried to turn up the heat on Adam Cole as he attempts to dethrone MJF and to feel like a legitimate threat. And there's been conversation on the flagship, on the AEW wrap up, on Wrestling Tonight, anywhere we're talking about AEW, about did they do a good enough job of making Adam Cole feel like a legitimate threat in that match against Jericho? I'd argue no, they did not do a good enough job. And that promo on Dynamite last night, there was a step in the right direction. Of course, they referenced the Adam Cole stuff in ROH, so it was even more appropriate to bring this match to the table here for you. This is Adam Cole versus Kyle O'Reilly at 2012's Best in the World pay-per-view from New York City, the Hammerstein Ballroom. And this match, and you can go back and watch the NXT stuff of Adam Cole, but I think this match right here is what really had Adam Cole gain the steam and the popularity and made him a star on the independent circuit, to the point where people were taking notice as this is the next guy. This is the guy who's going to be signed by WWE eventually. And it was only a few short years from there that he would be. It's absolutely beyond belief and more violent than we've seen from Adam Cole in NXT, in AEW. This is the side of Adam Cole we need to make people believe he's the star that can take the next step and hold that championship. There were a lot of doubters, similar to now in AEW, where people have their doubters of Adam Cole's size and his ability to carry a company. But everywhere he's gone, he's proved them wrong. Whether it's been New Japan Pro Wrestling or ROH, PWG, the guy's gone out there and he's carried the promotions and been the hottest babyface star or even the hottest heel. This match here with two guys that know each other really well, Kyle O'Reilly, like you could tell too that when Tony Khan brought these guys in, he watched this match. And I'd imagine he probably was in the building for this match with the two of these guys going out there. And there's a trust when you guys are close friends. And I don't know how close Cole and O'Reilly were at this point, but you can tell that they were taking it to the next level. And this is like probably their best match. They've wrestled a lot over the course of how many years they've known each other. Just the violence mixed with the work rate is the perfect mixture of just telling a story. And it's not the longest match. It's a quick one, but just the ability to show their natural talent, but also show an edge to them. This is the edge I think is missing from Adam Cole. And I can't wait to hear what you say about it after this week, just to kind of tell me what you believe. If you see this Adam Cole on AEW television, would you buy him as our champion? Because right now what we're seeing on our screen, I admit I'm a big Adam Cole fan. We've been missing something. And I think this is the piece that's missing. And I'm hoping you take away from and say, damn, if they can somehow bottle this and bring it to 8:00 Wednesday nights, man, they have something.
Yeah, man, that's a hell of a setup. I'm also, too, a huge Adam Cole fan, big fan of his work in NXT. And I'm with you. I'm hoping that promo we saw on Dynamite last night I'm hoping that's what MJF's getting ready to draw out of him. So yeah, be interesting. I'm really looking forward to this match. Kyle O'Reilly, I'm excited to see this guy can work his ass off. This is going to be a great one. Thanks for the rec.
No problem. And the blood in this match take it to the next level. And Adam Cole paying tribute to the likes of Bret Hart and Ric Flair, just the crimson face through battle. It added like another aesthetic to this match. It just took it to the next level. And I'm hoping that this feud with Max can take him to the level where everybody knows he can be, because when he was in NXT and he was the champion and he was, even the match, go down the list, the matches he's had countless in NXT as the champion, just the hottest act in all of the company in the Undisputed Era. My favorite match in his NXT run was against Keith Lee. I mean, two guys that are right now under the same roof, but feel disparagingly different than they were, only a few years ago. I think if you could find a way to get Adam Cole to the level he was, like, it's through this. It's like channeling something like this, making him violent, feeling like there's more of an edge to him. And like, I think maybe Max can do that. We've seen him do that with a lot of different guys, and he raised the level of the other three in that fatal four-way and got him to a new tier. Maybe they're not quite where Max is, but Adam Cole's starting at a point where Jungle Boy, Darby, and Sammy weren't. Cole is already established. You have this guy who came in, don't forget, the same night Bryan Danielson came in. Like, both stars were, as they come into the company, they were just as equal as a big deal, both of them. And look at the way Bryan's been booked and Bryan's been presented, and the way Adam Cole, and I know injuries played a part, but even before he got hurt, I felt like there was something off. So maybe this fresh restart gets a chance at the title against Max. Maybe he wins it. Maybe he doesn't, but I'm here for the ride.
I am too. And man, I'm hoping that maybe it's this feeling of something being a little off with him is almost like is intentional storytelling on their part, and be able to show the contrast of him getting his edge back. And if it's not the fact that Max is drawing in on like pretty much all the stuff going around the IWC these days and pulling that reality into his promos, I love that shit. It does not get any better than having a little bit of reality in your wrestling in that sense.
Yeah, and I posted something on my Instagram yesterday following this, and someone brought it to my attention. Just going through Max's Instagram, those sleuths that go out there and find things. Almost 7 years ago to the day, 6/9/2016, Max posted 4 influence he's had, and he says, learn from the best. And it was Tully Blanchard, Chris Candido, Chris Jericho, and a picture of Adam Cole.
Yeah,
so
watch the best to be the best.
Exactly. That's exactly what it was. And he draws from those influences. And I think he's worked with 3 of the 4 of the guys, and he just didn't have the opportunity to work with Candido because he unfortunately passed away. But you see a lot of the Chris Candido influence on his moveset. So student of the game, he understands the importance of Adam Cole. And I think he's taking the onus of saying, you know what? Let me get Cole back up to the level and show everybody what he can do, because I know it's there. Everybody knows it's there. Even Adam Cole knows it's there. It's about showing it to the general public and proving everybody wrong once again.
Yeah, and I know the 2 bad Chads have said that, they necessarily didn't want to see the Adam Cole feud start this early. I've been of that opinion as well. But man, what we saw last night, that promo and that exchange between those 2 guys, it really, really elevated both of them for me, and it really got me excited. It really turned up the heat, and I'm excited to see it play out.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens as far as they have a lot of big events throughout the summer, and everyone keeps saying Max is going to hold the championship for a long time, but he's been champion for 8 months. November's a long time ago at this point.
Yeah,
and
8 months is a good run.
Everyone's been saying like, oh, he's going to hold it to the end of 2024, but who's to say he's not going to get it back and hold the title hostage? Like, there's a chance where he's a 2-time champion by the time the bidding war of 2024 comes to a close here. Maybe he wins it back at Full Gear right before he's about to, his contract's going to quote unquote expire. Maybe that's what they're planning here. But I agree. Adam Cole can't lose. Like, if you put him in this feud, it would be so detrimental to have him lose this feud and go back to the bottom of the totem pole. I feel like he has to win. If you're going to pull the trigger, pull the trigger.
Yeah, I feel like he's got to win, or MJF's got to find some super dastardly way to cheat and scream out of it, and then we just continue to tell the story. Yeah, I don't know, but I think you're right, man. I think he's got to win.
But we'll see what happens. Let's get to the final handshake and talk about what we have planned for the rest of the Tavern week and what's coming up next week. All right, final handshake here, Colton. We announced last week season 4 Shot Nostalgia we got the whole overlay. Everything's coming up. We got about 3 episodes left to Shot Nostalgia. 1998 Survivor Series is going to be dropping tomorrow. Deadly Games talking about The Rock becoming the corporate champion. Of course, Wrestling Tonight on Monday. You also catch me on the debate. Only you and I talking about all things Dom and Don Callis. But for you at Mullet.mania, what's going on in the land of Kentucky and things going on with mullets?
Dude, man, you and I, so mullets, like I said, nothing but just upkeep and good photos, getting ready for this
Pruning,
competition
right?
in August, pruning, just continuing to condition and, find the right products. But man, yeah, had a blast on the debate with you this week. A lot of fun. Both of us getting to be on there. I'm going to Collision, man. I bought tickets. Bought tickets yesterday. So, early this morning. I bought tickets as I was going to bed. Yeah, Chicago is only a 5-hour drive away from me. It's Father's Day weekend. I'm going to take my old man. We're gonna have a ball, man. Really, really looking forward to it. Yeah, Section 212, Row 2. Keep an eye out for your boy.
That's awesome, dude. Congratulations. It's going to be a great time. And hopefully we get some meaningful program on Collision. It looks like the main event. And I know that too bad Chad's went off on the flagship about the main event, about what could have been and what is actually happening. Your thoughts on FTR and CM Punk taking on Samoa Joe and the Bullet Club?
I mean, it's fine. I think it's going to be a good match. I think they have the Too Bad Chad's got a point talking about how there's not exactly a whole lot of story there. I mean, obviously we knew we were going to get a setup for Joe and Punk. Most definitely. I'm also kind of surprised that Punk is wrestling his first. Not necessarily surprised he's wrestling his first night back, but surprised that we've just gone ahead and announced the match. It seems kind of strange to me. I also want to see him come back as a heel, and if it's not immediately, I'm excited to take the ride and see where it goes. But this is going to be a good match, like work rate wise. This is going to be a good match. I'm excited to see it. Excited to see Punk and FTR team up together. I love Bullet Club Gold. I love Samoa Joe. Really excited to see Juice Robinson and Jay White. Seen Jay White live multiple times. He does a good job of, in the last few years, done a good job of making appearances at Impact shows. They always run through my neck of the woods 3 or 4 times a year. I never miss them. Never seen Juice Robinson live, and I don't think I've ever seen Samoa Joe live. I've been to 2 Dynamites, and I don't think Joe was at either one. So this is going to be awesome.
Well, either way, it's going to be a good time. It's going to set off what's going to be a fun summer. And we got Forbidden Door, Bryan Danielson versus Okada. We got Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega for the IWGP US Championship in a rematch from, everyone would agree, probably the match of the year so far, and see if they can top what they did, where they took each other to hell and back during that match in Tokyo. We'll see if they can top it in Toronto. But a lot of good stuff, and I'm happy to hear that you're going to be hopping on Shot Nostalgia with us in a few short weeks. We're going to be filming for the first week of July. 7 episodes, a mini season, but we have a lot of fun things planned. Can't wait to hear your takes on the show and do what we do here. I feel like this has been a blast, and our chemistry has been growing week after week, and it's one of the highlights of my week. I love doing this with you.
Dude, same here, man. I look forward to it all week long. It's an absolute blast. And yeah, really looking forward to diving into Smoky Mountain Wrestling with you, really getting into some wrestling. And excited to jump on with Bellcaster, man. Yeah, I love Mike. I've only gotten to do a couple of shows with him here and there on the debate. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to going 3 wide. It's going to be a good time.
So guys, make sure you go to theturnbuckletavern.com and show us love everywhere we are. And make sure you guys, we're so close to 10,000 followers on Instagram, the Turnbuckle Tavern Instagram. Once we get there, I feel like the sky's the limit. So make sure you guys go there, buy a shirt, do whatever it takes to support us. This is free content, as Colton said before. We are giving you guys endless amounts of content. Who else is covering Ring of Honor at the length that we are right now? Nobody's doing it. And this is just one of many shows we're doing here. So you guys make sure you support the tavern any way you can, because it keeps us going. That's the way we continue to do this. And as Too Bad Chads were saying, there's a lot of fun things in the future that we can't reveal quite yet, but just stay tuned. Stay with us. There's a lot of big things in the future, and we are only growing and getting bigger and bigger.
Yeah, exciting stuff on the horizon. Thank you guys for all the love. Keep it coming. We're having a lot of fun with you guys, and yeah, there's exciting stuff coming, so come along for the ride.
And Colton said it best, and you guys, we'll see you guys next week. Make sure you abide by the Code of Honor.